Hello, everyone. And as I've said for forever, I love that they say recording in progress so I know when they're recording. I don't know why I'm dancing. I'm sorry. It just randomly started like head swerving, no music, whatever. Anyway, I'm Winona and I remember to introduce myself. So high five to me because that's semi-professional. I normally forget. And I'm one of the thought ladies, and we wrote books. Imagine that. If y'all are normally listening to us, you know that I have completely skipped over banter. Just skipped right over it. So there we go. The books are, and I thought divorce was bad, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse. Widow's Web, Widow's Debt, and Foreign Coffee. If you counted those up, that's 6 books. And then there's 11 more of those bad boys. So 17 in total at andithoughtLadies.com. Yes, I had to say it like I'm selling cars.com. All right, I'm done. You're not here to hear about me. You're here to hear about my wonderful guest. Wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi, my name is Roje Augustine. I'm an author, screenwriter, producer, and now poet. Um, the 3 things that I think are probably most interesting about me that you can know are one, that I am a native New Yorker who's currently living in Sydney and have been here in Australia for 12 years. I love, love, love to rollerblade. My favorite tunes through the park. And I'm like a fanatical Christmas fan. Just love Christmas obsessively. I start on
Oh,
December
so
1st with Christmas music and the ornaments and everything all over the house. It doesn't end until the end of like or mid-January actually.
this is your favorite time of year. You're just having a ball.
Oh, totally, totally. Love it so much. Yeah, it's the best.
That that is so
Mm.
amazing. So amazing. All right, I'm just happy that we were able to connect today. So let me start off with did you said filmmaker and producer. Two of my favorite things. Mostly because I
Mm.
want a film made about me. No, not about me. And a producer. So tell me, how did you make the jump from writing to producing to filmmaking? And I believe you own your own company now.
Well, I started a production company to develop projects under, my banner. So I started producing for television in documentaries and news magazines and also morning shows. That's the bulk of my production work. And then I transitioned into scripted television, so producing, um, stories, storytelling. And the first project under my company was a podcast called The Right Space. Um, and and now I am transitioning more into writing scripts for and developing scripts for television series here in Australia and hopefully in the States if things go well.
Nice. Okay, first of all, it's a very competitive field. How do
Mm.
you deal with the rejection, the challenges, and the constant competition?
You just keep going. That's all you can do. You just keep going and you improve your craft. You just try to get better and better. You stay educated about what's happening and just keep going. That's the only thing you can really do. Persistence is everything. And you show up to everything. You have to always be out there. So it's not easy. You're right. The constant competition and rejection can be quite painful sometimes. You think, what the hell am I doing this for? I should have been an accountant or something or a lawyer. But at the end of the day, I'm a creative. I'm a storyteller, and this is just the world that I've always wanted to be in. And you just keep going.
Yeah. Okay, so
Mm.
I'm gonna admit this is the first time I've ever heard someone say like my advice normally, and Jade goes, "Don't say that. People don't want to know that." People don't want to know that no matter what happens, you must keep going. That's pretty much it. That's how you get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no magic bullet, you fall off the horse, you get back on, and eventually you get better. That's just your odds improve the longer you go and the more committed you are to being as good as you can possibly be. That's it. That's the formula.
So
And
for
luck. I think a bit of luck too.
oh yeah, definitely some luck. So that's what I'm worried about because I'm a very unlucky person. The luck.
Well, one of my favorite quotes is luck is actually preparation meeting opportunity. So if you're always prepared, opportunities are everywhere. You just have to be prepared to take advantage of them.
So just in case y'all are out there wondering how I can be successful, being prepared apparently is more important than most things. Because
Yep,
when you have,
yep.
because
Hmm.
opportunity never tells you when it's really gonna. I mean, sometimes it does. Most of the time, it doesn't tell you when it's gonna show up. You're just having a conversation. It's like, "Hi, I'm here." You're like,
That's why preparation is so important because you don't know when it's going to show up. And when it does, you're like, oh, I've got something actually. I've been working on this for a couple of years and here it is. You just have to keep working. And, if nobody's getting your stuff, you just have to keep writing, you just have to keep doing it. So,
so
yeah.
I must say, since we're having this conversation and we're talking about opportunities, I'm just wondering, any opportunities showing up for me in this conversation?
Depends how prepared you are.
Love the answer, by the way. Yes. Depends on how
Mhm,
prepared I am. So,
mhm.
what is the difference between producing a a morning show and producing something for that it has a story with it and television for like as a television show?
For a morning show, you're basically getting your stories from the feeds or for whatever, from what's happening out in the world, So it's pretty much a packaged story that you have to then put together and put on air, and you get your presenters and everything. And they're short. But when you're doing a scripted show, there's a lot more work involved. You have to do a lot of research and you have to it's more collaborative. You need a lot more people to help you with the project because to handle a series, one person can't do it all by themselves. You need different voices. And the major difference is the amount of time it takes. It takes a very long time to put a show together because you have to get all your story elements, you know, in place so that it makes sense, and it's entertaining and it's relevant. So it requires a lot more collaboration, I think, than producing a news segment.
Why? Oh, I'm sorry. I almost asked you a question from the pitch deck I was just thinking about. I
Mhm.
was going to ask you a question about a pitch deck. My mind goes, pitch decks. Did you answer that question in yours? Anyway, moving back to
Mhm.
the real conversation right now.
Mhm.
Um, most people are going to want to know because a lot of the people who listen and watch this show are writers, either screenwriters or they're actual authors of books or poets or something like that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we would love to know, how do we get our book onto the big screen? Do you have any advice for us? I mean, or do we just, blind, cold call, like pitch your company? That last one was
Um, if you want to get your story picked up and and translated to the screen, first of all, the story has to be uh, it has to be a good story, something that's well structured and that resonates, even if it isn't a bestseller or a big blockbuster, that doesn't matter because a lot of small books that nobody has heard of, that people haven't heard of, end up being um, you know, optioned and then turned into a series. So my advice would be to find a producer or production company that deals with the kind of story that you've written, and try to find a way to send them your story so that they can say, "Oh, this is great. I could turn this into a show." It's easier to do if you've got representation, but there are plenty of people who get in front of a producer, um, who get their work in front of a producer without an agent or a manager. Easiest is to get it through a manager and agent. So try to get an agent, try to get a manager to sell your work, to pimp it out on your behalf. Mm.
Now, I have to come to before I even ask another question about filmmaking and production, I must come to my favorite part because I write poetry. You are now a poet. When did you
Yeah,
become a
I
poet and
am.
why?
Well, that is a great question. I became a poet when I wrote this book, when I did this collection of poetry, Out of No Way, which tells the story of Madame C.J. Walker's life and her relationship with her daughter. I initially had a project to do a series about her life, a limited series. Um, and my agent and I were working on, I had spent years researching her, and I had my pitch document and the beginnings of a script about her life. And then my agent called me and said, "Oh, bad news. The um, the the main sort of source, the book about Madame C.J. Walker, written by her great great granddaughter, had already been optioned by Octavia Spencer, and that they were already in pre-production with Netflix for a limited series about her life. So I thought, oh, I knew I should have gone that route to option the book. I thought, oh, I didn't need to do that right away because her story's sort of in the public domain because it's so old, right? Anyway, that's fine. I'm glad that somebody was doing it, but now I had all this material and all this research that I was sitting on. So my agent suggested that I do a poetry book because at the time, which was a couple of years ago, poetry was sort of like in the zeitgeist, and Rupi Kapoor was, gangbuster selling her poetry book and everything. So my agent was like, do a poetry book. And at first I thought, why would I do that? I'm not a poet, and that's not what the material I put together was about. But then I like to try things, and I thought, why not? And I sat down and I started to work on it. And once I worked out a structure, this idea just flowed. It just became this real joy to work on, and I just kept going with it. And it took me about 8 months to write, and that's the book that's now out. And the intention for that is to turn it into a stage production, sort of like a kind of musical, not I'm not sure about a music, but I definitely want to do a stage production with it.
Now, what challenges did you face starting a production company? Because we interview a lot of producers and not even a director, a couple of directors, but not many of them have their own company. And what do you specialize in? I think you've said it before, but let's come back and hit that nail on the head again.
Hmm. Well, I specialize in scripted shows, so scripted dramas. That's where I really want to, spend my time is with scripted, great, great stories. I just love great stories. And um, I sort of focus on dramas, but I like to do different formats. So podcasts, plays, series, television series, reality. It depends on the story and the idea. And often the idea that comes up or the story dictates what the format's going to be, So for this poetry project, for example, I wrote it as a book, but in my mind, I kept thinking this this actually I want it to be a stage production, and the first stage of this, production will be the book. Um, but then I had other ideas that I felt, oh, this is going to make a great podcast, and I did a podcast with it. And then there are other ideas that I say that I think, this is going to make a great series or a comedy, a limited series, a long running one. So it just, you know, I guess my focus is on storytelling, but in terms of the format, it depends on what the idea is.
Exactly. Now, what challenges did you face making this business, the production company?
The challenges are basically funding, money, um, and just getting projects off the ground. You know what I mean? And finding your the tribe, like finding the right people to work with each project. You know, but yeah, the biggest challenge is always money. It's always getting money. That's, you know.
Yeah, everyone,
Mm,
every time I talk to someone about like, oh, they're like, this is a lovely idea, but you're gonna have to find funding for
yeah.
like your project, someone who's going to believe in it and put the income behind it. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
that sounds like a tough part for anyone to do. So I
Yeah.
applaud you. This is amazing. I should have started off with this question because I normally do. I'll start off with the question about you. So I'm going to end with one of the questions being about you. You moved from Maine to Sydney. Please tell me the story behind that and which one are you which one do you enjoy more?
Mm.
Can you
Well, I
answer that
actually am.
one?
I'm actually from New York City. I was born and raised in New York, and I met my husband in New York in 1995 or 96. We were working together. I was at university. He was an exchange student from Sydney. We were working together at a restaurant waiting tables, and we got to be really good friends. And then one thing led to another, and next thing you know, we're dating, and then we move in together. And after spending 10 years in New York, we then moved to London. We had our first child, and we were there for a few years for his work, and that's where I wrote my first book. And then we had a second child, and this was now, he'd been out of Australia for 12 years, and he really wanted to come home. So I thought, all right, he stayed in New York for me for 10 years. We had 3 years in London. Now it's my turn to come to Sydney. And I had been traveling to Sydney throughout those years together to visit his family and loved it here. It's a great, great city. So when it was a really easy decision for me to say, okay, we'll move here. So I love Sydney. It's a great city. It's clean. It's beautiful. There's lots of beaches. The food is amazing. So there's a lot that I love about it, but I also miss New York and I miss American culture. I miss African American culture, which you don't get much here. That's the thing I miss the most. So, it has its pluses and minuses, but I am planning to be back in the States in sometime early next year. So it'll be good to be back
Oh,
home.
that's
Yeah.
so sad. I was looking for it. I was like, if I ever come to Australia, I'll have someone to visit, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I'm in town. Hi.
Yeah.
I said it was going to be the last question I did, but I have to end on the question that everyone expects, which is where can people find out more information about you and your projects?
So LinkedIn is a great place. I have all of my stuff up there. I also have my website, which is breaknightfilms.com, which has, you know, um, uh, samples of my work. Um, and on Instagram, I'm not really much of a Facebook user or Twitter. I just have an Instagram account. Although I have accounts on Twitter and Facebook. I'm not a social media person. I should be, but I'm not. But yes, I have my Twitter handle, Roje Augustin, and also the Right Space, which was the podcast series reality, which is being pitched at the moment in the States. And yeah, and that's it. Yeah.
Well, congratulations that the podcast is being pitched at the moment.
Yeah. We're going to try to turn it into a series, which was the original idea for this kind of like it's a docu series, an arts focused series. But I beta tested it as a podcast, and that went really well. And now we're going to try to go back to doing it as a series. So those are the three places that you can find me. When I say Break Night Films, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Thank you so much for being here with the us. I want to say us because I normally have a co-host, but with me today, it has been a blast and a half to talk to you, especially
Thank
considering that
you.
you are up either really early or really late to talk.
Really early. Yeah, 6 a.m.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, let me hurry this up. So
That's
I'm
all right.
Nona.
That's all right.
I'm Nona. I'm one of the Anti Thought Ladies. And you can check out everything that you ladies are doing at www.antithoughladies.com. While you're there, go to no, not the ladies tab. I lied. Go down to the middle of the page and you will see the charities that we proudly support. We would love it if you could give them some support as well and during these hard times. And remember, y'all, that wisdom is all around you if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love from Will Nona and the Missing Jade.